Here on the ground, change happens fast. Problems feel frequent and urgent. It's loud and anxiety runs high. From a satellite view, the Earth looks the same as it did thousands of years ago. We've been here before. Let's learn from our past and shoot for a better future.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of A Satellite View. I'm Todd Mikkelson, your host, speaking at you from Sunday, May 17th, 2026 in the space and time continuum. I'm doing it on Sunday because I'm leaving for New York for a week tomorrow, so I won't be able to do it tomorrow. And I really felt compelled to get in this week because of so many things going on. But again, things you haven't heard about that I think will make you feel good. Donald Trump is being ignored and erased. I'm thinking of calling this, is erasure worse than prison? He should be in prison. He ran for president to stay out of prison. He got Elon Musk to steal the election for him. And now he's being erased. And for somebody like him, I don't know. Might that be even worse? Here's a little bit about what I'm talking about. I don't know if you know about this. Very interesting. In Australia, Trump has been working apparently for about 20 years on a project that was going to be called Trump International Hotel and Tower Gold Coast. So it's on the Gold Coast of Australia. It was going to be a 91-story building, a tower, with, of course, the name Trump printed across the top. Eric Trump bragged about it and posted a drawing of it that looked very expensive, the drawing itself. All excited about it. This was Eric Trump talking about it in February, which brought attention then to Australian citizens. And apparently the developer who was going to be working on the project has now canceled it completely. More than 100,000 people signed a petition in that area of Australia, and the contractor or the developer, apparently that was going to build the building, canceled the whole project because the name is too toxic. You think that name's ever going to come back after he's no longer president? Yeah, that was one thing. And then, of course, you may know about China and how Xi Jinping did not greet him on the tarmac. Some people say, oh, that's normal. No, it's not. No, it's not. Trump sure was there to greet Putin in Alaska. There were no top Chinese figures. There was just some kids there waving flags. And on the China Daily, which is apparently a big, I think it's a state-run newspaper, but it's the biggest sort of newspaper in China. It's called China Daily. Usually I think there are 6 columns on a newspaper page. 5 of the column lengths, there was a photograph, 5 column lengths wide of the leader of Tajikistan. Have you heard of it? I have to admit, I don't believe I have ever heard of that country. But the leader of that country was being greeted in a big photograph on the front page. On the one sidebar, the one column that was left, is where it said, "Oh, Trump is coming." Now, that's something that you might have heard about the leader not greeting him, but I don't know if you heard about that newspaper. Again, mainstream media is not reporting on a lot of these types of things. I'm going through a whole bunch of things that mainstream media is really not reporting on. You may have heard the market crashed on Friday. Usually the market goes up on Friday because that's the day Trump says, we got a deal. We got a deal in Iran. They wanted to sign so bad.
They begged me. They said, sir, please. And they came in with tears. They were crying.
That's usually what he does on Friday, and then there's a big market surge. And by the way, people are looking into that now. There are investigations starting on the whole market manipulation part of the Trump administration. And I just heard today, let me get this information together here. I just heard today that a former federal judge rips apart Trump's $1.7 billion slush fund for January 6th rioters and political allies in a new court filing. Trump shouldn't be able to sue himself and steal our tax dollars. This is from Mueller, she wrote. The reporting is just a couple days ago that this whole thing about Trump trying to sue the IRS for $10 billion because somebody in the IRS apparently leaked some of Trump's tax returns. Did you know about that? He was basically going to steal $10 billion from the United States government, his own DOJ. Then it was reported he'll probably settle before it goes to court because it'll probably be ruled illegal, but he was going to settle for, I think, 1.8 or 1.7 maybe billion dollars. He was going to settle for that amount instead of trying to get the full 10 billion. And then he was going to use that as a slush fund for January 6 rioters and political allies. So about 1,600 January 6 people that he's already pardoned. He was going to give each of those 1,600 people, apparently, $1 million apiece. Now, what could they do with that $1 million and still have an awful lot of money left over? They could buy themselves a little militia uniform and a couple of AR-15s and gather somewhere as a militia for Trump. Well, a federal judge has ripped that apart. So again, that's on hold. He's having a few problems in court with a few different things, including things like the ballroom. He keeps saying the ballroom's going to be built, and now that it was released that it wasn't released. I guess it was leaked in a court paper that they're also building a private hospital, a
state-of-the-art hospital. Because I'm someday I'm gonna be old. I'm not now, but someday I'm gonna. Have you noticed that's what he starts doing now? That he does this. Someday, they say that's a new Trump thing. Anyway, he's just looking worse and worse. Everyone's surprised that this airplane ride to China and back didn't kill him. Okay. Those are some dull headache things. There are a few more pretty bad things going on that I will report on that I did not know about, and I bet $100 you did not know about because nobody's talking about it. Now, I'm going to stick in here a couple good things. For instance, in Idaho, very, very red state, there's a woman, Ellie Gilbreth, who's running for the Idaho 2nd Congressional District. Sitting there now is a total Trumper, Mike Simpson, who does everything Trump wants him to do. And Ellie Gilbreth was interviewed by Katie Fang, and I watched it. And she has a lot of interesting stories. She said that she's been going around. First of all, somebody was primarying, a Democrat was primarying against her, and they decided to drop out because they said, you can win. You have a better chance of winning than me, so I'm no longer going to primary you. I'm going to drop out. So now Ellie Gilbreth is going to be the contender for the Democrats in Idaho's 2nd District. And Ellie Gilbreth has ran into friends of Mike Simpson who have told her, and they're Republicans, and they have told her, I'm good friends with Mike Simpson. He's a good guy. But then the next thing they say is, it's time for him to go. We got to get him out of there.
So she's gaining the report of a lot, the support of a lot of Republicans, even Republicans that are personal friends with Mike Simpson. I think that's pretty interesting. Another thing that I don't know that you know about, in New York, Mayor Mamdani has gotten rid of a $12 billion deficit. When was he sworn in? Was it like February or January or February? He's been in there for, I think it was even later than that. I don't know. He's been in there for 2 or 3 months maybe. And when he came in, there was a $12 billion deficit left by Eric Adams, the highly corrupt former mayor that Trump, of course, the DOJ dropped investigations on him and all kinds of things. A lot of people in the DOJ quit. A lot of good prosecutors quit because of that. Anyway, Mamdani has worked with the governor of the state of New York. He's gotten money from the state to go into the city, but also they worked together and passed a tax on empty second home apartments worth over $5 million in the state of New York. So uber rich people who don't even live in their apartment that's worth over $5 million, and they only live there temporarily, I suppose, only in the summer or something like that. They leave it vacant or they, I don't know, rent it out or something. Well, they now have to pay taxes like other people do on the whole worth of their highly expensive apartment. And they raised an awful lot of money. That did not make up the whole $12 billion, but it made up enough to get the $12 billion deficit completely under control. And the Republicans are scared to death of Mayor Mamdani. They're calling him a Marxist, a socialist, a communist, because of the things that he's trying to do, like apparently get rid of a $12 billion deficit. We know that they're hypocrites. We know that they are now scared because people are informed and paying attention. Mamdani is a hero to those of us who want America to do well, to those of us who want taxation to be fair in this country. Why does Elon Musk not need to pay a penny? Pretty incredible things going on there. Oh, also, Jamie Raskin is passing legislation along with a couple other people. I'm going to read to you from the Jamie Raskin website. In Washington, D.C., a couple days ago, Representatives Jamie Raskin, Robert Garcia, and Joseph Morelli introduced legislation to strengthen the legal infrastructure of our democracy against presidents or other officials who abuse their power for personal gain. The Protecting Our Democracy Act would oppose executive corruption, promote transparency and accountability, and reassert the principle that no president is above the law. So what's happening here is we're finding that so many of our systems have not been ready for somebody to commit these atrocious grifting schemes that Donald Trump has done. For instance, the slush fund for the January 6th people. Our legal system never predicted anybody would do such a thing. That's why we need to do so much reworking. And again, you've heard me talk here about we just need to tear a lot of things down and rebuild in our government. And yes, our Constitution needs to have a lot of rewriting done. Now, this bill, Senator Adam Schiff has also introduced a companion legislation in the Senate. Now, there are a lot of statements here. I'm going to read the first one by Representative Jamie Raskin. Quote, President Trump and his cabinet are committing daily shocking violations of the Constitution, putting billions of dollars in personal profit, rampant political corruption, and the designs of billionaire oligarchs before the basic needs of the American people. I'm introducing the Protect Our Democracy Act with Representatives Garcia and Morelli to reassert the rule of law, revive congressional power, and get our democracy back on the growth path again. Representative Garcia also has a great statement. Quote, "The blatant corruption we've seen from Donald Trump and the Trump administration is exactly what this bill is going to crack down on. This bill will close glaring loopholes and makes it clear that no president can run a pay-to-play scheme from the Oval Office. No one should be able to buy a pardon, a cabinet seat, or favor from the President of the United States, and this bill will make sure it can't happen." More statements from other representatives and senators and regular people, business owners. And Trump has been selling pardons and a lot of other things. These people are passing bills. Well, we'll see if they get passed. Now, the prediction is they're not going to be able to pass it because the Republicans won't go for it. But it's important to put that legislation on the floor for a vote so the American people can see who is voting against it, who is in favor of people being able to buy a pardon by giving the president $1 million. If you're in Congress and you vote against this legislation, you are in favor of Trump grifting the American people. You are in favor of Trump selling pardons to criminals. And the American people are watching now. So this legislation is very important, and it is being introduced into Congress. And that's a very good thing. We're going to take a short break, and I'm going to reorganize because my notes, if you're seeing them on the video here, are just all over the place. And there's a lot of them. A lot of things happened this week that I want to get to. A couple shocking things that are just not being reported for some reason or another in the United States. I don't get it. But we're going to hear directly from AFRICOM Commander General Anderson, and very interesting things that he said in a committee hearing that happened just a couple days ago. For some reason, the mainstream media doesn't think these type of things are interesting, I guess. So that's what we're doing here. We're making up for that BS. We're making up for the downfalls of the mainstream corporate media. We're getting our information from good sources who are doing actual news. So let's talk more about that after a short break. You're listening to a satellite. My brain is a little flustered. You're listening to a Satellite View. We'll be right back. Satellite View. Find our website, satelliteviewpodcast.com, and go to YouTube and search for Satellite View Podcast. You'll find our YouTube channel. Subscribe. It's free, and you can watch these videos there, and then push the like button with the thumbs up. When I do that on my phone, I think balloons come or something. Does that happen to you? iPhone thing? Yeah. If you're on, anyway, I think you might know what I'm talking about using the camera. So let's get into some of these things that I told you we would. And let's start with some information that came out during a committee hearing. Admiral Cooper, he's the head of Central Command. He has, he's not doing the greatest job. Also, General Anderson is the AFRICOM commander. So that's African Command. Basically, Admiral Cooper is sort of the United States Central Command. General Anderson is African Command. And some information came out First of all, you may have heard a little bit. Our munitions are going to take a year to replenish because we've got very expensive munitions, and Trump and Keg Breath have just, had fun blowing it up over different countries, blowing up fishing boats and in the Caribbean. And so our munitions are extremely low. There have been no investigations going on. Apparently there have been 22 schools and also hospitals hit, killing civilians in Iran. We know about the very first one, like one of the first Tomahawk missiles hit a school, killed over 160 little girls. It was a girls' school. Young little girls dead by a war crime that the United States committed. That one is apparently still being investigated, but the investigation showed almost immediately that, yes, it was a Tomahawk missile, and the United States is the only one who shoots Tomahawk missiles. So, no investigations on the other schools. So, what else did they say? Here's something that was interesting and shocking. Al-Qaeda and ISIS is growing again in Africa. So General Anderson is telling us a lot of news about Africa. Are we at war in Africa? No, but Trump has been ignoring, he's already bored with Iran. He doesn't even talk about Iran anymore because he's bored with it. We're going to get into Cuba in a minute, but ISIS and Al-Qaeda have not stopped. Trump said, I got rid of ISIS. No, you didn't. And now you think you did, so you stopped even paying attention to it, and now they're growing under your administration. Also, they said, yeah, we could open the Strait of Hormuz. We have the ability to do that. We could do it fairly quickly, but yes, it would be messy. Yes, we might have casualties, but yes, we have the capability. It would have to be militarily, but we could open the Strait of Hormuz. But Trump is not giving the command to do so because he's scared, because he already knows how bad he fucked up, or at least the people around him do. And if he does it even worse, and we lose more military personnel trying to open the Strait of Hormuz that was open before he decided to do this stupid war of his. So these admirals and generals, the commanders in the military, are reporting, yeah, we could open the Strait of Hormuz, but the commander-in-chief is a scaredy cat. Now, I'm going to play you an answer to a question that was posed by Senator Mark Kelly, who also is an ex-veteran and astronaut. And he brought up the point that the military asked for $94 million to combat disinformation and misinformation. They only got $19 million. What is that, 25%? 20%? Yeah, between 20 and 25%. Why is the Trump GOP not giving the military the money they say they need to combat dis and misinformation? Now, that might sound like it's not that important of a thing. $94 million, when you hear about all these budgets being in the billions, is relatively not a lot of money. Now, you're going to hear Mark Kelly finishing his question, which basically I told you what it is. He said, now you asked for $94 million. You only got $19 million. What could you do if you got exactly what you asked for? So you're going to hear Mark Kelly finishing that question, and then you're going to hear General Anderson's answer.
If you could just explain to us a little bit about what you could do if you had the full request.
Senator, I think the key point there is right now we are in a reactionary mode to propaganda and to other information operations to what we can do at the moment. What the fuller funding would do, especially if it's consistent over time, would allow us to build an information campaign and address these issues across the continent. We're one of the few organizations that looks across the entirety of the continent and can understand how these propaganda and misinformations play across borders. We work very closely with the State Department and U.S. embassies on this to make sure our messaging is key, but this would allow us to do is help coordinate that messaging across regions and across the continent to highlight the issues that come with this misinformation, especially as much of it is destabilizing the democracies across the region.
Do you ever feel like we should be countering some of their disinformation with disinformation of our own?
Sir, I think the most powerful tool we have is the truth. What America brings is very unique. We're still a beacon of hope and light in the world. And I think we should be willing to talk about who we are. This is America's 250th anniversary. There's a long history on the continent that is, I mean, there's good and bad, but there's a lot of good that we can talk about of what America brings. The fact that John C. Robinson founded the Tuskegee Airmen, 2 years later founded the Ethiopian Air Force, and then went on to found Ethiopian Airlines, which is now the pride not only of Ethiopia, but Africa. It's not a story that's well known, but that is a tie that we have had between the aviation communities for years. There are multiple stories like that across the continent that we need to propagate and talk about. So I would say we should focus on the goodness and the positivity of engaging with America and worry less about the disinformation that our partners put out, but we have to engage in this environment. We have to be active in the information space.
So you got about 25% of the requests. So if you got the full amount, you could put more out there, positive stuff that the United States is doing. And I know these are, challenging times with resources, even beyond what DOD has, USAID and others. But do you think that would be sufficient to counter Chinese and Russian misinformation?
Senator, I think information operations is one of the lower cost investments that we can make that have outsized return.
Small investment can bring large returns. We are currently still using this old technology, for instance, Patriot missiles, to intercept missiles being shot by now Iran. And those cost millions of dollars. I think each one costs about $5 million each Patriot missile. And Iran now, I told you last week or the week before, they've figured this out. And so they'll just shoot targets, false targets, decoy targets for the Patriot missiles. So, and we then also provide Patriot missiles for our allies in the Middle East. So our allies have been shooting Patriot missiles at these decoys. And then they run out of Patriot missiles, and then the real missile comes in, and we have nothing left to shoot at them. Now, the technology has been developed so much in Ukraine that now they are the state-of-the-art military force in the world. They're using drones that cost a few thousand, or less than $20,000 to do this same type of thing. Some of the drones are even cheaper than that. That is new technology. We are not doing new technology. We are wasting money. You heard General Anderson say that for a small investment, we can make a large impact if we put our money in the right place. But they're not giving him enough money to make that large impact. Instead, they're putting it toward trying to get more Patriot missiles, which is going to take another year for us to replenish. And also, you heard USAID mentioned. The cuts to USAID are putting us in danger because other countries now, like China and Russia, who also, it was reported, yes, they are assisting Iran in this stupid war of Trump's. That came out in this committee hearing as well. And also that those countries now are taking our place in not letting children starve because back with Elon Musk and Doge cutting USAID to a lot of places, in this case, General Anderson's talking about Africa, children started to starve by the millions. Elon Musk doesn't care about humans. Neither does Donald Trump. So these are some things that show you why we got to get rid of this regime. Not just Donald Trump, but this regime needs to go down, needs to be taken out. Look at all the damage that they are doing. Now, I mentioned Cuba. Cuba, it's being reported by the Republican MAGATs and the Trump administration. Cuba has 300 drones. They're going to attack the United States. They might even attack Key West. It's only 90 miles away. Do you remember that kind of talk going on in 1962? Except Russia was the enemy that we named in 1962. Now we're saying this is Trump getting ready to invade Cuba. And we don't even have the munitions to even do what we needed to do to finish in Iran. Is he planning on just ignoring Iran and not finishing there? So now they're saying Cuba has 300 drones. Now, if you remember, about a month ago, Trump lifted sanctions on Russia and let their ships go through the long-time embargo blockade that the United States has had against Cuba. Because people were starving in Cuba. So what does Trump do? He lets Russia send ships there to give them oil. Now, do you think maybe 300 drones were included on those ships from Russia? Trump's like, that would work out well for me because I need to invade somewhere else because Iran, I'm bored. I'm bored with it. And speaking of that, Bret Baier on Fox News tried to give Trump a pass, tried to give him another chance to clarify. Can you clarify what you were saying when you said you don't put any thought at all into Americans' finances? He said, it was a perfect statement. I'd say it again. That's what he said and then Bret Baier just gives him a look like, what? Are you kidding? Yeah. Also, just this morning, 2 nuclear plants hit by drones in the Middle East. Or 2 of them are on fire, at least. At least one of them in the UAE was hit by a drone. There were 3 drones. 2 of them were knocked out of the sky. One of them hit a nuclear facility, and it is on fire. What happens when the fire gets to the nasty part of the nuclear plant? And then in Israel, there was an explosion with a pretty large-looking, I saw the video, pretty large-looking mushroom cloud. And then everybody was going, what was that? And then Israel's government said, oh, it was a planned, controlled explosion. Okay, why did you not let anyone know that you were going to do a planned, controlled explosion that created a huge mushroom cloud, and you didn't tell anybody you were going to do it? Practically the whole country of Israel can see this mushroom cloud. That happened. Just within the last 24 hours, those things happened. Yeah, anyway. South Carolina. They tried to do the same thing that other red states are doing and redraw the lines to get rid of the minority, mostly black districts. And they were voting on having a special session to do so, and it did not pass because Republicans voted against it. Because Republicans know that you're diluting their red seats and that they have less of a chance of winning. And they know it's going to be a bloodbath in the midterms. So South Carolina, everyone was scared. Oh, South Carolina is going to get rid of their main only minority district. Nope, they're not going to. Mississippi also cannot use these redrawn lines that the Republicans want to use in the midterms. So Mississippi is going against Trump as well as South Carolina. Talk about erasing Trump. It's happening. Also, Lincoln Memorial, reflecting pool. Trump drove the motorcade over it, which meant it needed to be repaired even more because he wanted to drive the motorcade through the empty pool like a fucking idiot. Also, data centers and warehouses being converted into prison camps and concentration camps are being held up by us, you and I, the citizens of the United States and bringing it to court and having them stopped. People are not accepting these data centers that take up so much natural resources. So AI, I don't know, is it crumbling? Along with Donald Trump being erased, is that worse than prison? I don't know. Here's another thing that I just heard today. Hawaii is banning the Citizens United. They basically got rid of Citizens United in their state. So Citizens United, of course, basically lets anybody, corporations, PACs that get together that do not have to report where their money is coming from. Hawaii no longer will allow that. Hawaii has basically gotten rid of Citizens United. So that movement has begun and is successful in one of the United States already. All right, let's keep manifesting these things. Trump International Hotel and Tower in Australia, canceled. You're being erased, motherfucker. Sorry for the language. Not really. I'm not really sorry for the language. Anyway, I'm going to let you go. I've taken up enough of your time, I believe. I think I got through my notes, believe it or not. What a full week. And I basically had to stop gathering information. I was gathering information still today. And I'm just like, okay, there's too much already. I need to stop and just do the show. This is why I've changed to usually doing the show on Monday, because on Monday morning, even more things happen. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. But from Sunday here, the 17th of May, I thank you so much for listening. I'm going to stick here with you. Thank you so much for being here with me. We're going to stick together. And together, we're all going to get through this. We're getting closer and closer to the downfall of the Trump regime. And we're doing it together. So again, thank you so much for being here with me. I will speak at you next week.
You've been listening to A Satellite View with Todd Mikkelson. Go to toddmikkelson.com for links and